For more than 20 years, Derek O'Neill has been inspiring people all around the world. An acclaimed psychotherapist, motivational speaker, author, and amazing humanitarian, Derek inspires and uplifts people from all walks of life. Let's welcome Derek. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
So Derek, when it comes to spiritual awareness, are there steps we should take to become more in touch with our spirituality?
Yes, there is actually, and strangely enough, the very first thing you need to do is acknowledge that you're human, right? And that spirituality is a method that joins people, whilst currently, as we're looking at the world, religion separates people. So what spirituality effectively does is it allows you to become the great being that is inherent within you, but probably hiding. So the steps you take are, first, you acknowledge, how far you want to go on that path. Because as we know, there are many, there's many paths, but the destination is one. Okay? So, what does spirituality mean for the individual? Because it's strange when you use the word spirituality, people, 8 times out of 10 will actually think you're talking about religion. And it has nothing to do with religion at all. What it has to do with is, your energy and how you use that energy and what you want to use that energy to achieve. Right? So, the first step you take is you acknowledge that you may need more energy in a certain, we call it, department of your life. Okay? Whether that's, in the world of business, in the world of relationships, whatever. But the greatest department that most people like to see falling down on in the spiritual thing is the self-spirit. And that is, people think that when you become spiritual, it's all about, running into a forest potentially and, putting ash on your forehead and, that type of thing. But the fact is that the brave spiritual person actually stays in the world and is completely present. And so the first step to do is take 5 minutes out of your day to be absolutely present with yourself. And whether that's, lighting a candle or, somewhere where you're not distracted, just for 5 minutes.
5 minutes. So that's pretty much, are you bringing yourself into an awareness?
Yes. You're not only are you bringing yourself into an awareness, but you're awakening an energetic package that has been sitting there waiting for you to acknowledge its presence. And, when you look at the world, and specifically in this new technical world that we live in, everybody has that disease. That disease where their right hand is stuck to their ear, and they can't take it down, otherwise known as a phone.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, there's a prime example of somebody who thinks they're being present, but they're anything but present. And, when you become, the big buzzword now is mindful. When you become mindful of what you're trying to achieve, then you become present. But, even last night being Valentine's night, I'm in LA at the moment. I live in Ireland, obviously, but I'm in LA. And just walking down, the Hollywood Boulevard, and I went into a restaurant, and it was quite interesting to watch how many people weren't present with their loved ones. And it was Valentine's night. Like, literally, you had these couples, and, you have
addiction.
one...
It's an addiction. That phone is an addiction. I mean, I've been just recognizing it in myself lately, and you know, the fact that I have a hard time just putting it away. When I have a free moment and I'm out and about throughout my day, I pick up that phone and I'm checking emails or I'm sending texts and lately I've been saying to myself, like, this is an addiction and I need to just leave the phone in my purse and just sit here. I used to do it years ago, way before phones ever came out. So it's, yeah, I mean, you know, Valentine's Day, it's sad to walk into a restaurant and see everyone so disconnected. I mean, so
and all the things is, again, you know, and I say this specifically to parents, you know, your children are becoming delinquent because you're not capable of switching off the phone for 1 hour a day. You know, you're not even present with your own children. You're there, you're doing an activity with them, your phone will ring and you're gone again. And, you know, I can tell you, you know, looking at the patterns of the world from a, you know, a psychotherapy point of view, as well as the spiritual point of view, we are creating a generation of disconnected people, right? That I hope will become so, and I think they already are becoming so angry and disillusioned with the world that they will reconnect again with each other, because it's definitely not a good time for them now.
I agree. So, you know, also, I think a lot of that now is also tied into emotional pain, right? We all suffer some sort of emotional pain. And what we do is we run away from it, right? We don't want to face it. Can you share some tips on how to move through the hurt and emerge stronger than we were before?
Absolutely, and that's a great question, because, again, the first basics that we need to understand is, you know, we're human beings, but let's talk about us for a moment as a machine, okay? We are wired to be attracted to pleasure and averted by pain. That's wired. Now, what spirituality does, or what meditation does, or what mindfulness does is it rewires your system. You know, neuroscientists call it plasticity of the mind, okay, where you can actually rewire yourself. Now, the fact is that we live in a world that's not always beautiful, okay? And we need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge, you know, one of the biggest lessons that a spiritual teacher taught me in India, which just was one of those moments that blew my mind wide open. Hey, yeah, the teacher in India said these words to me that just blew my mind wide open. He said, Derek, remember that the light came from the dark, not the other way around. So it was just one of those moments where I had the dark as my enemy, if you like. And effectively what he did is he gave me permission to make the dark my friend, and to accept what, you know, Carl Gustav Jung was talking about when he talked about your shadow side, or your, you know, that element that we're terrified to let people see, we're not brilliant at something, or, you know, we're having a bad day. And that emotional content that engages when you realise it's okay to have a bad day. You know, it's absolutely fine, and it's part of who we are. So once we stop running away from the pain that comes with the fact we're alive, that's when we start to actually realise that what we were running from was a gift. It's a bit like, you know, illness for me now. If an illness visits me, and listen to the words I use, visits me. I don't say I am sick. You know, it visits, okay? Then it's a messenger for me. And it's just knocking on me, and it's saying, you are out of alignment with who you are. Something is going on in your life that is not in alignment with your values. And that's all it is. And I take a moment to just sit with that. And, you know, I know that those other people have talked about, you know, if all of a sudden you start getting the pain, that it does a message. Something in your life is giving you a pain in the neck. Or somebody in life is giving you a pain in the neck. Right? And, you know, the amount of times where people... Huh?
I said we've all had plenty of those.
That's what I'm saying. And what we do is we medicate them away before we get the message, and they keep returning. Whilst if you take that 5 minutes, okay, when, like, the amount of times I've treated thousands of people around the world, right? And the amount of times I have been able to bring back that when you have a pain in your back, you know, lower back to middle back, it's always associated with two things. One, the lack of support from your male father side, okay, or financial worries. It's amazing. And same with the knees. People who have issues with their knees is because they know they need to take a step in a new direction. And they're terrified. They go into fear because, you know, we all love to know exactly where we are. But life is not about knowing, you know, where we are. It's about having the fun, getting to where we want to go. So emotion is one of the greatest understandings. Like I took the word emotion and I took the word, the letter E, and I called it energy. So emotion is energy in motion. Okay? And at the end of the day, as human beings, we want our energy to be in motion. We want it to be going out from us and touching the lives of everybody around us. And in turn, you know, feeding off their energy to implement a connection with each other. So emotion is, you know, there's positive and there's negative, but the fact is, there's neither positive or negative. There's just energy in motion. And when it's stopped, find out what's blocking it and get it going again.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. You also talk a lot about the spiritual intelligence. How can we apply this principle to our relationship, to our finances, to our work,
Okay.
Any aspect of our lives?
Right. Now, this is the part that really fascinates people when I talk about it. Okay? The spiritual intelligence that I speak about, some people might call that God, source, universe, energy. The name is not important, okay? But what is vitally important is that you acknowledge it in every given moment and acknowledge that it is running the show, okay? Now, the big message that I've been traveling with over the last couple of years is that we've all been, can I use the word con? You know, we've all been misled by society, by ourselves, okay? And the prime example of that is, if you go into one of the bookshops or you see a poster for spirituality, they're all saying, you know, mind, body, and spirit. It's always, they always put the mind first, right? And what I discovered was that was BS. It was absolute BS. Because, in fact, it's spirit that you put first. Okay? And so, if you can, for the sake of this conversation, or how I explain it to people is, if we can call spirit for a moment nuclear. So, we have this big ball of nuclear energy sitting above our heads. Okay? And it's running the whole show. And if you don't believe it's running the show, you're going to go through a lot of unnecessary pain. But if you get that it is running the show, you won't try to control stuff that's not in your control. So, you have this big ball of nuclear, and what it does is, it sends a ball of energy into your mind. Now, depending on your past, depending on your childhood, depending on your environment, depending on who you hang around with and play with or whatever, that energy is going to do one of two things. It's going to turn into a nuclear bomb and cause huge disruption in your life in the form of fears, phobias, depressions, anxieties, or whatever, okay? Or it's going to turn into nuclear medicine, i.e., it's going to make you feel happy, blissful, content, all the great stuff. Now, the only way of knowing which of those two nucleuses you're receiving is to go into your body, because your body will show it up in the form of, you know, health, wealth, stability, smiling, energy, Now, if it shows up, again, we're back to that moment where if it shows up as an illness, it's only telling you that something in your mind is not right. So take a moment to sit with yourself again and say, hey, you know, I have a job, I have a family, I have food, I have water, I have medicine. Why am I not happy? Something is driving that. And it is vitally important that you find out what's driving it and change it out. So this intelligence that I'm talking about is when you finally flip the mind, body and spirit to the absolute truth of the game, which is spirit, mind and body. Now that you have them in alignment, they'll all talk one to the other to get you to where it is you want to go, which is to be productive, to be inspired, to be motivated, and to be happy. All the things we say we're looking for. But the truth is, the amount of times I did workshops, you know, called something like Finding the Real You, and people come and they pay $100 or whatever to come to the workshop, and they are no more interested in finding who they are. What they want is all they are, you know, or their sorrow, or their depression, or their anxiety, and and so it takes a while to get them to warm up to this fact that it's only a messenger. You know, like for myself, working with people over the years and suffering from it myself in my younger years and stuff, was like, depression is a very powerful message, but once you get the message, it goes away. And that message is, I refuse to participate in life anymore. That's what depression is. It's a conscious decision to stop participating in life. And when people hear that, they get quite angry at me. And they go, what? Are you telling me my depression is due? And I go, yes. And they go, no, it's not. My doctor told me it's chemical in nature.
Yeah.
And I go, that's correct. It is chemical in nature, because one of the things I learned through meditating in Tibet and India or whatever is that when we get angry, a chemical is released into our system. And if we don't know how to clear that system out, we could hold on to that anger for the rest of our lives. Right? So yes, it is a chemical, but the chemical only releases when a piece of energy comes from intelligence, hits us on the head, and then because of a past experience, we decide nuclear bomb, nuclear medicine.
Right, but doesn't that now also
tie
into...
That's effectively good.
I'm sorry, what was that?
No, you were going to ask the question.
Well, I mean, doesn't that emotional pain or that anger from something that has happened in our past, doesn't that relate to now forgiveness? we all have this difficult time forgiving people, forgiving the circumstances that have happened in our life. So how can we become our own healers and open our hearts to becoming more present and allowing this forgiveness to come in?
Yeah, again, a very good and very powerful question, because people have to get to the point where they're ready to forgive. And why a lot of people take a long time to get to that point or through that journey is because they actually think that they have to forgive. So I have to forgive the man who sexually abused me, right?
Right.
But the truth is, I have to forgive myself for holding on to that pain and holding on to that experience and feeding it with energy every day of my life to keep it present. So actually the first thing I need to do is forgive myself. Like, it's like, again, I've had clients who have experienced dreadful things, like they were raped and they can't function anymore. They literally can't function. They become, drug addicts, alcoholics, all the things we do to run away from our emotional pains, right? And, I say to them, okay, why do you want to get rid of this pain? And they go, because it's killing me. And I go, no, you're killing you. It's not killing you, you're killing you. You're in control of it. Your mind is creating your reality. Okay? So when you hit them with that piece of information, effectively what happens is you say, if you forgive yourself for allowing yourself, and this is very controversial, but it's absolutely powerfully true. When you forgive yourself for allowing yourself to be raped every day since the event, that's when you may get the courage, the strength, and the motivation to forgive the person who carried out the act in the first place.
That's a big step.
You have to start with yourself first. And that's what I'm saying. And that's why, I have theories. Now, they're only theories, but people who we're starting to see Alzheimer's and stuff like that becoming more prevalent in their society. I reckon that some of that is based on what I call, forgiveness is good, forgetting is better. Okay? So, could it be that, besides the chemical and all the other stuff, could that have a root cause in people wanting to forget, traumas that have happened in their lives?
But are you referring to forgetting as far as burying?
Yes.
Burying the emotion and the memory?
Yeah.
So then
yes.
Okay, so is that beneficial to someone?
No.
No, it's
not. It's not beneficial at all. And so I'm coming from the experience of, I was an Olympic athlete, and I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, and I was your prime, excuse my ego, poster boy for health and well-being. Okay? And next thing, I have this bad turn of health, and I go to a doctor, and the doctor tells me, I think you might have cancer. We need to do some tests. And they did tests and told me, I had cancer of the lung. Now, what? Hang on. That's not right. I'm healthy. I'm 22 years of age, whatever I was. No, you got the wrong person here. So what I did is I went into that journey of forgiveness, where instead of doing the chemotherapy, because at that stage I had been trained by Korean, Chinese, Japanese masters who were all telling me that the mind was more powerful than anything else, okay, and had got me that focus on meditation and mindfulness and martial arts in particular you know, through that system, because that was the discipline I was going to go to the Olympics with, right? And so I ended up choosing not to go down the conventional route, that I would look at the messenger. I would invite the messenger back and go, why? What is this all about? And I discovered that the root cause of my cancer was my anger at my mother. I was so angry at her because she did an event that, you know, to this day, I don't know whether she did it consciously or unconsciously. So, you know, when my mother, who had a drink problem, okay, when she gave me, and listen to the words I'm using, when she gave me to that man, did she know he was a paedophile? Did she know he was gay? Right? And if so, what sort of mother would do that? Okay? So this man sexually abused me because my mother, you know, traded me in for both. And so that, on my level, on my...
I'm sorry, I just didn't catch that. What did she do? She traded you in?
She traded me in for a bottle of vodka. Oh. Right? So, on my spiritual level, on my unconscious level, I know she knew that he was like that. So I was angry on a deep level. And so it was that anger that was causing the cancer. It was eating me up inside that my mother would do that. And I absolutely adored and loved my mother. Right? Absolutely adored and loved her. When she would hit me over the head with a plate at the dinner table for nothing, because I laughed or something, my response to that was to run away from the table, go to the river where we live, pick some wildflowers, come up, give her the flowers and say, Mum, I'm sorry for hurting you, I didn't mean it. Like, what a response to physical violence, if you like, right? So this love emanating within who I was as a being was stronger. That spiritual intelligence was stronger than Derek is, right? So when Derek and me, when I channeled that intelligence in through my system, the cancer disappeared, because I acknowledged that my mother was the genie in the bottle, that she was hurt, and that hurt was passed on to me. And then I acknowledged that I was now hurting myself by taking on this illness. So I forgave my mother and I forgave myself. But I forgave myself first, and then her, and then cancer disappeared.
Was there a period of time where you buried those memories, those emotions?
Oh, they were completely buried until the cancer came. Okay. I didn't even, like, to be honest, I didn't even, it was a funny type of experience. You see, if you have an experience like that, what happens is you have the conscious mind of the subconscious. And what the subconscious does, it's like your best friend, okay? It takes all the emotional content out of the memory and it drags it into your system, okay? And it keeps it there. And here's the thing, it can show up 20, 30, 40 years later as a phobia, as an anxiety, whatever. And if you don't get to the root cause of it, you're only going to symptom substitute. You're literally going to start to drink the bottle of wine or smoke some of the ganji or whatever it is you need to hide from that shit. Right? But the fact of the matter is, if you don't look at it and you don't forgive, it's staying. And it will stay until the moment you close your eyes, never to open them again. And what a great opportunity we have.
Yeah, and I mean, what an opportunity at 22 years old for you to be awakened at that time, because you're still young and you have so much of your life ahead of you that you were able to, turn that around.
Yeah. Well, you see, the great gift that my mother gave me by carrying out that action. And again, people might find that strange. Did he use the word gift? His mother gave him to be sexually abused, to obedient by or whatever. Did he use the word gift? Yes, I did. Very loudly and very clearly. The gift of it was, it became a motivational piece in a positive way for me, where that's when I ended up setting up my own foundation. And you know, I'm working in, I think it's 11 countries around the world now, and we've took thousands of kids off the streets in India and Peru and El Salvador, and we keep them safe, and we feed them and educate them and clothe them and all of that. Why? Because I know what it's like to feel abandoned. I know what it's like to feel alone and have nobody to protect me. So that was the gift she gave me. She helped me to feel that feeling and be able to transfer that on to other people.
Right. So there's the light from the darkness, right?
Oh, 100%. And that's what I'm saying. So the darkness is not our enemy. It's a messenger. It's our teacher.
So now, I mean, change can be scary. So when you're going through this process, which is why so many people make excuses not to, right? Not to really go after what they want. How can you share with our audience ways to overcome some of that fear?
Well, again, you won't really overcome that fear until the motivation is strong enough to get over that wall or break down that wall. So again, we are wired to, you know, hey, I'm comfortable here. And, you know, again, where I see this quite a lot is battered wives and battered husbands. Okay? It's like, you know, we take a woman, for instance. So the woman is in a relationship and it's a violent relationship. Okay? And finally she gets the courage to leave the relationship. But I say finally because, you know, the first time you're physically hit by a man, you should leave. You should go, no, sorry, not on, not my values, not who I am. You go and deal with that, and I may give you a second chance. Okay? So that's what we do as human beings. Okay? Because we fear change. Now, if that escalates to the extent that the woman leaves the relationship and then carries out the full release of that relationship, i.e. does not go back to that relationship, I guarantee you that she's going to go back into that relationship exactly the way she left it with another man. unless she changes something about what brought her into that relationship in the first place. You know, what was the drive? What was the motivation? And whether we're talking about a relationship or a job or a career or whatever, it's the same thing. Something brings you to a place. An energy moves you into that place. Does it move you there to be there forever? Who knows? Only you know. But if you become so comfortable with other people's negative patterns around you that affect your environment, well, then you're going to get ill. But when you finally understand, I have to do something about this. I can't go into the office every day and have the boss scream at me all the time. It's not good for who you are. It's not good for your values. So the motivation to change will come again from the negative experience, not from the positive experience. So most people, when they're having a positive experience, they forget something very true to life. And it's a statement and a mantra all in one go. It says, it goes like this. Happiness is a space between two sadnesses. And sadness is a space between two happinesses. Right? So, that being said, we are on an up-down travel path anyway. Okay? So, don't expect to be happy all the time. Okay? But also, don't expect to be sad all the time. Because there are moments where, you know, you have the opposite effect. And again, just doing something as simple as the first question you asked about how do we engage in mindfulness, or how do we engage in our spirit. When you take a good deep breath in, at the very top of your breath, just for a moment, a nanosecond, you are completely and utterly connected to Source. And it'll be the exact same at the bottom of the breath when you breathe out, and there's that moment where there's no action. So there's no action at the top of the breath, and there's no action at the bottom of the breath. The action was taken in between those 2 points. And life is like that. Life is like that.
Exactly, sure. It's a great analogy.
Right? So, you know, so sometimes we need to take action, and other times we need to do nothing. And just trust that the intelligence that's running the show has us safe, has our back, if you like. Right? So that's really where we as human beings emerge into higher selves. And that higher self says, it's not all about you, it's about us, turning the me to we. And when you do that, when you begin to serve other people as you would yourself, all your dreams come true.
Love it. Derek, this has been so incredibly inspiring. And like I said earlier, I'm thrilled to have more of you on our site so that our audience can follow you and listen to you and take your ideas and tips and learn how to change their life. So it's so wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tell us just what is the foundation? What is the name of the foundation? Where can we find it?
Yeah, the foundation is called SQ Foundation, and there's a website, sq-foundation.org. And, you know, as I said, that foundation came alive because my wife and I went to India, and we got off a plane and we looked at what we thought was children playing in the sand. And while we were waiting for the taxi to get us to where we were going, we looked a little closer and discovered that what we were looking at was children who had been amputated. Deliberately, we found out afterwards. They were deliberately amputated so that they would be worth something to the family in the form of begging. And it was like, what? No, this. So my wife and I, we were very blessed to practice. The psychotherapy practice was very busy. We had more money than we needed for ourselves. And so we decided we would do something about it. And we went back to India and we began to open orphanages where we took the kids in, looked after their health and well-being, and educated the parents that they didn't have to do that act anymore. And, you know, from there, 35,000 children later that we've helped somewhere along the line, SQ Foundation was birthed and continues to run, helping ourselves and our children. Because, you know, a very important message, and specifically at this time in the world's message package, with what's going on at the moment, the fear and the scaremongering and the new president of America and, you know, Brexit and all this stuff that's going on. People need to understand that the child starving to death in Africa, India, America, Ireland, or whatever, is our child. It's not just their child or their problem. It is our child and our problem. And it's not even a problem, it's an issue. And an issue can be solved when we share what we have.
That's beautiful. And that is
SQ-Foundation.org.
Okay,
yes,
great.
yes.
I'll make sure to list that there. And again, thank you for this amazing
You're
interview.
welcome.
We'll find out more about Derek on our site. He's got plenty of articles up now, and you'll hear back from him soon. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.